Thank you. Shoes off?
Yes, please remove your shoes.
We're at a bright blue craftsman home on a tree-lined street in Portland's Sellwood neighborhood.
It feels like you are at your friend's house about to have a sleepover.
Once a salon, then a cannabis dispensary, it's now home to Project Circle, a licensed psilocybin service center.
I'm Tracy Kim Townsend. I'm a licensed medical doctor, licensed psilocybin facilitator, and I'm also the chief medical officer here at Project Circle.
The center provides psilocybin therapy with trained facilitators like Townsend under an Oregon law, the first of its kind in the nation, approved by voters in 2020. It's very cozy here, way different from most medical settings. We take our shoes off at the front door before seeing the former bedrooms that now serve as therapeutic spaces for clients' psilocybin experiences. There are mats, blankets, pillows, little nooks and places to sit, and tools for art therapy or musical therapy. Indoor plants and bright fall colors on the trees outside lend themselves to a peaceful atmosphere.
That is something that, again, can be extremely therapeutic for people when they go out and to meet nature again.
Townsend says clients who come to Project Circle are often physically healthy but wrestling with mental health challenges in their day-to-day lives.
I find that a lot of people are moving from mere survival into questions of, what does it mean to really live? What does it mean to thrive? How can I really flourish?
But psilocybin therapy's mental health benefits have proven especially helpful for people coping with severe, even terminal illnesses.
That's where I feel like this medicine is really special, to tend to beyond just the physical or biochemical, biomedical way of looking at illness, disease, death and dying, but tending to the emotional and spiritual aspects of those processes.
But here's the thing. The state law allows psilocybin therapy in licensed service centers like this one. But what if you're too sick to go there? Could a licensed psilocybin facilitator come to your home and provide therapeutic services for you there? Oregon law says no, but a group of facilitators are now fighting to change that. From the Gert Boyle studio at OPB, I'm Jen Chavez, and this is The Evergreen, a podcast about the place you call home. 4 licensed facilitators have filed a federal lawsuit against the Oregon Health Authority, which oversees the state's psilocybin program. The facilitators say the law is too restrictive and violates the Americans with Disabilities Act by not providing accommodations for terminally ill and dying patients who can't travel to service centers. I'm going to hand the rest of this episode over to Jane C. Hu, a science journalist who covers psychedelics. She's been following this effort to expand access to psilocybin therapy in Oregon to more patients who could benefit from it.
Allison Grayson feels a sense of calm when she walks into Project Circle.
As soon as I walk in here, I feel like my nervous system is just like, it's very home feeling, very clean, very cozy.
This cozy space is a psilocybin service center. Grayson also leads a monthly grief group here. She's focused on end-of-life care and serves as a death doula, as well as a psilocybin facilitator.
A lot of doula work is helping with end-of-life anxieties, having conversations, just having those deep, difficult conversations. And we do a lot of bedside sitting when somebody's in the active dying phases. We do a lot of vigil support, being present for them, being present for the family. And just trying to support as much as we possibly can before, during, and after end of life.
Grayson recently did doula work for a patient we'll call John to protect his privacy. The first time she met him, she was struck by his enduring sense of humor. Even though he had terrible nausea from chemotherapy, he still cracked nerdy jokes.
I think when somebody is approaching terminal diagnosis and end of life and is still able to maintain that sense of humor and that individuality, he was just so thoroughly himself in that. And still holds a space in my heart very much.
Some studies have found that people with terminal cancer diagnoses, like John, can feel closure or comfort after taking psilocybin mushrooms. Tracy Kim Townsend is a medical doctor and psilocybin facilitator. She's also a co-founder of Project Circle.
Some of the earliest clinical trials with psilocybin therapy looked at end-of-life anxiety in terminal illness. And what was fascinating was that the majority of the participants had a transformational experience that they ranked as one of the top 3 or top 5 most significant experiences of their life, up there with the death of a loved one or the birth of a child.
Grayson, who is licensed to guide people through psilocybin experiences under Oregon law, thought John might benefit from the experience as well. John was intrigued, and Grayson started the intake process for him to become one of her psilocybin clients. She completed the legally mandated health screening for John and had him fill out loads of paperwork. After that, he could receive psilocybin at a licensed center like Project Circle. Grayson waited for John's symptoms to relent, a day when he might feel well enough to travel to a center.
And that ability, that window just never opened up for him. If there was reasonable accommodations in place and I was able to serve him at his house, it would have been a different situation.
Psilocybin trips can be intense experiences. Many people report seeing deceased loved ones, angels, even God. Measure 109, a ballot initiative Oregonians passed in 2020, specifically dictates that people can only legally consume psilocybin in licensed service centers under the supervision of trained, licensed facilitators like Grayson.
I've had several clients who have started the intake process with psilocybin, but again, because of the timing, because of the restrictions on being able to go to a service center, things progressed before they were able to receive services.
Grayson is one of 4 facilitators who have brought a federal lawsuit against the Oregon Health Authority, alleging that the agency's psilocybin services program violates the Americans with Disabilities Act. In the suit, the facilitators' lawyers argue that people like John, who have a disability that prevents them from getting to a service center, should be allowed accommodations, like receiving psilocybin elsewhere.
In wanting reasonable accommodations, we're not looking to flip the whole system upside down. We're just looking to be able to provide safe services for people who are not able to get to the service centers.
According to the lawsuit, 2 of the providers contacted OHA, the Oregon Health Authority, last year, asking for accommodations for people whose conditions prohibit them from traveling to a service center. OHA replied home use is not allowed under state law. Allison Grayson's patient, John, died before he could receive psilocybin services. He was among tens of thousands of Oregonians whose conditions may prevent them from traveling to service centers.
Coming up after a break, we'll hear about what it would take to change the way the law works. Thanks for listening to The Evergreen, our podcast from OPB about the place you call home. If you like what you hear, subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, and we will brighten your Monday morning a little bit with something new and exciting to listen to each week. You can also follow OPB on Instagram at OPB Photo, or follow me directly at Jen Chavez OPB. That's Jen with 2 N's, and I'll keep you posted on what Team Evergreen is up to. And remember, this episode about Oregon's unique psilocybin services program and all the great OPB reporting and storytelling you hear on this show is made possible by the support of many thousands of OPB members. You can support our journalism by becoming an OPB sustaining member today at opb.org/pod. And now, back to Jane C. Hu in psilocybin in Oregon.
Tracy Kim Townsend is working to make her center, Project Circle, as accessible as possible for people with disabilities. There's a ramp from the sidewalk to the front door, session rooms on the first floor, and mats placed on the floor for comfort and easier movement. But there's only so much they can do to help clients with disabilities or health issues to feel comfortable. Even facilitators like Townsend, who have medical training, are prevented by program rules from acting in any capacity outside a facilitator role. Those rules also limit touching clients. Facilitator Allison Grayson explained that those rules are in place to protect both facilitators and their clients.
So in all, the rules around limited physical touch are very beneficial, but they make it so if there's a situation where somebody has mobility issues or caregiving needs, specifically around like ambulation or toileting, it makes it so the facilitator is not capable of providing that assistance. And while we can get another person to be approved by OHA to be present during the sessions, it's difficult and there's also limitations around that.
Grayson says if clients were able to receive services in their homes or a hospice setting, they could be more comfortable. And it could be easier to include caregivers who can help them with basic needs.
If we're able to have reasonable accommodations in place, we would still have the OHA approving the presence of their caregiver, but it would be a much easier situation where things are already set up to accommodate their mobility needs, to accommodate their toileting needs.
Not surprisingly, the Oregon Health Authority declined to comment on the use of psilocybin and end-of-life care due to the unresolved lawsuit that Allison Grayson and other facilitators have filed. But I was able to speak with Angela Carter, who is chair of the Oregon Psilocybin Advisory Board. That's the group of people who recommended the rules that the program now uses. And they told me that the board has discussed the issue of disability accommodations. Specifically, accommodations for people who are at the end of their lives and want to access psilocybin services.
I think the whole board is open to the idea of, with the right safety measures in place, to having people have a variety of different access points. I think we even talked about mobile psilocybin facilitation centers. It's not within the confines of current statute.
In other words, the advisory board can make rules about how to implement the law, but they can't change what's in the law itself. Carter shared that their own mother was very interested in a psilocybin experience as she was reaching the end of her life. Unfortunately, she would have had to travel to Oregon from her home in California to access psilocybin legally. That just wasn't a possibility for her. Carter says that their mother was very concerned about what would happen to her consciousness after she died.
At the end, she kind of figured her way. She said, well, I'm either going to disappear, and that'll be it, and it'll just be silence and darkness and nothingness, and I won't be there to know, so that's okay. Or I have been a really good person my whole life, and I've done everything I can to act with integrity, so I will go to a good place if there is a heaven. She went into it very bravely and she did it so beautifully and gracefully. I'm so proud of her. It would have been wonderful to be able to offer her more support and an experience that could have helped her feel more peaceful. I would love to have it be available at home with hospice facilitation. I want everybody to have that possibility if that's what they choose to do. What a beautiful thing to be able to leave life peacefully and unafraid.
Carter doesn't have much hope that the lawsuit will end up making that possible for terminally ill people.
The lawsuit is coming against OHA, but the OHA does not make the Oregon revised statute. All they can do is make the Oregon administrative rules that guide how the Oregon revised statutes are administered, rolled out. So I think that the lawsuit will likely result in, yes, maybe this is something that needs to happen, but these are not the people that you need to talk to about it.
The lawsuit illustrates the tension between Oregon's psilocybin program, which is legal at the state level, and federal law, where psilocybin is still very much illegal. In September, the state's attorney filed a motion to dismiss the suit, saying federal court is not the right venue for it, and that ordering the state to make disability accommodations for psilocybin services would essentially be ordering the state to violate federal law. So far, there has been no indication that the federal government intends to intervene in Oregon's program, but should the plaintiffs succeed, it could attract newfound attention from federal authorities. If the case is dismissed, the plaintiffs' other options for changing the law are even more challenging.
We could do another voter-led ballot initiative, gather signatures, get it on the ballot, have a vote, or it would require a legislative champion to take up the change and bring it to the legislature for a vote.
Grayson and the other facilitators are focused on disability accommodations for those with advanced or terminal illnesses, using the Americans with Disabilities Act. ADA protections also apply to people with a wide range of mental and physical disabilities. That includes ADHD and autism, PTSD, schizophrenia, and depression, all of which would be, in theory, eligible to request accommodations. Meaning, if the lawsuit succeeds, many more people could ask to receive psilocybin sessions in alternate locations. That's because the federal law requires public entities to ensure that people receive, quote, reasonable accommodations to access services. Ultimately, many psychedelics advocates, including Carter, hope that psilocybin services become more widely available to a variety of populations who might not be able to access them due to the state's current laws.
I would love to have people who are in medical facilities for severe mental health concerns have access. I would love to have people who are incarcerated and want to work with psilocybin have access to that. There's many reasons to provide access through other avenues, or to provide some way for different locations to receive a temporary certification.
Carter says that mobile facilitation centers could be one way to address some of these issues, but there are many considerations that go into ensuring safety for a psilocybin experience. That's why, even if it were permitted under the law, allowing these services in a private residence could require a whole new set of safety rules.
If someone were to have firearms in the house, they need to be locked. If there are knives in the kitchen, they need to be put away. Not to say that someone would go after those things, but, just like to create a space that is on par to a center. Like you can't have children in the house. The house cannot be within 1,000 feet of a school, daycare centers, places that children are. So there's a lot of considerations that might make certain places more difficult to create a safe space.
But the trade-off could be worth it, Carter says. If people feel more comfortable in their own home, it could lead to a better experience overall. Without any changes to Oregon's laws, people with severe or terminal illnesses have few options if they want to experience psilocybin. As a result, some are turning to underground psychedelic guides, and that can have issues of its own, says Allison Grayson.
The downside with that, besides it being very illegal, is there's no safety precautions in place. There's not a governing board. There's not a licensing process. There's not accountability on what training sessions they've been through. There's no certification, and good work can happen underground, but a lot of people who are doing underground work aren't necessarily doing it in a way that provides the highest level of safety for their clientele.
Grayson hopes that her participation in the lawsuit helps terminally ill people gain options for trying psilocybin legally. She says she feels like she's carrying on the legacy of people like John, who she worked with as a death doula.
Part of it feels like I am honoring their wishes and my memory of them by helping to pave the way for other patients to be able to become psilocybin clients.
Jane C. Hu is a science journalist who covers psychedelics and other topics. You can read her article about efforts to increase access to psilocybin for people who are terminally ill at opb.org. Thank you for listening to The Evergreen, a podcast from OPB. Join us next week when we'll explore Portland's past and present as a jazz city. As KMHD Jazz Radio turns 40, we look back at the city's golden era of jazz and reflect with a longtime KMHD DJ about bringing jazz without boundaries to music lovers in Portland and around the world. Julie Sabatier produced this episode, and our technical director is Stephen Cray. Kevin Deers at KUOW engineered the episode. The OPB podcast team also includes Mia Estrada and Sage Van Wing. Jane C. Hu and I did the interviews you heard. The music in this episode is from Audio Network. And hey, if you have a question for us, don't forget, you can reach out. It's as easy as sending us an email at theevergreen@opb.org. I'm Jen Chavez. Catch you later.